Good morning, everybody. Grace and peace to you from our Lord Jesus Christ and all the saints here in Central California. And the water bottle says good morning too. So let's hide all the background clutter, shall we? There we go. So sorry, it's freezing out there today, so I'm gonna keep my jacket on. There's been a few questions over the past few months about AI and am I worried it's going to take over the job? And um, not really. I, I mean, at the very least, somebody's got to still go out there and plug this stuff in, and an AI is not going to go out and plug a cable in or repair a fiber. Or, well, I wouldn't repair a fiber either, but there's still plenty of jobs that AI is not going to be able to do. And I don't know if Elon Musk's robots, Optimus or Proteus or whatever it's called, I don't remember. I don't think his robots are anywhere near ready for that, despite what he thinks. So I started thinking, well, is there a way I can use AI? And I've used it for a few things like, hey, can you help me write a Python script? Because I don't know Python. I mean, I can write DOS command scripts and batch files and Pascal. I can write in Pascal. Uh, and I used to be pretty darn good with 8086 assembly language back in the day. Um, but I'm not a programmer, so I ask it to help with that. But then I started thinking, well, what else could it do? And then I started thinking about this upgrade I have coming up. And I'm looking over here because I have my upgrade instructions over there on that screen. And I started thinking, well, they're always saying, please refer to the release notes. Please read the release notes. And if you've ever looked at release notes or tried to read through them, it's like reading through a law book because it's usually just a bunch of, here's what we've changed in this release. And if the firmware that you guys use is anything like mine, there'd be pages and pages of bug fixes and maybe a few new features, and then a whole lot of disclaimers and legalese. And I I don't know about you guys, but I just can't read through those release notes. They put me to sleep. So I thought, you know what? What a great thing for an AI to do because it can read through it in seconds. So here's what I did. Let me share this window. Oh, let's find it. Let's find it. Is that it? Yeah, I think this is it. Let me see if that's it. Yeah, that's it. So I went over onto I picked three AIs. Did Chat GPT. I did one that I just started using lately called Claude.ai, and then Google Gemini. And those are the only three that I've used lately. I've been a big Chat GPT user. Um, but Claude, I've only had a couple of conversations with, and Gemini, I used when it first came out. I wasn't impressed. I thought, well, it's probably better now. Let me try it now. And it was not impressed. I was not impressed. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm spoiling the whole thing for you. I did not try Bing. I guess I could have, but I just figured Microsoft, nah, that's okay. So you can see what I wrote here. I said I have an Extreme Networks VSP8404 switch that's running firmware version 8.2.7.0. I want to upgrade to version 8.10.7.0. That was Extreme's recommendation of the latest firmware to upgrade to. Said, can you locate and summarize the release notes for 8.10.7.0 and suggest an upgrade path? Well, obviously I meant an upgrade path. And luckily the AI knew what I meant. Now I already know what the upgrade path is. I already know what I'm going to do. The only thing I haven't really done is read through the release notes. But I wanted to see if I told it to read through the release notes, you know, I wanted to see if it would recommend a good upgrade path for me because I know from Extreme what it's supposed to be. And I've, as I said in a previous video, I think I outlined it all. I've done almost everything I need to do for the upgrade except for the reboots. So I started with Claude, and here's some of the helpful. I'll help you find the release notes. And he goes through there. Now let me search for this. What I like about Claude is it kind of tells you what it's doing. With ChatGPT, it basically just says thinking. Um, and then Claude's recommendation came back. It says based on the release notes and documentation, here's a summary. And he says that it's primarily a maintenance release with no new features, focused on addressing customer and internally found software issues. Okay, cool. That's what I want to know. There's no new features. It's just upgrading certain issues. It tells me my 8404 switch is supported in this release, which I already knew. Tells me the problems that were resolved. VRRP routing failures, which we use VRRP extensively here. So if there's a bug out there waiting for me, I'll be glad to have that resolved. TXNNI, we don't really use that. RSMLP, peer ownership issues. We use SMLT. I'm not sure about RSMLT. Should have asked it what our RSMLT is. We might use it. I'm not sure. SNMP handling, yeah, maybe we got problems with that. And OOM conditions, not sure what that is. I'm reading this. I got all this information yesterday, but I didn't really review it. I was going to save that to review with you guys. So BGP we don't really use. Yeah, BGP. We did have lots of problems with routing protocols when we first implemented these 8404s, which is why we dropped any and all routing protocols. I'm pretty sure it was BGP, and went back to static routes. And our routes don't change that often. We maybe get 5 routing changes in a year, maybe. Usually more like 2 or 3 in a year. So we just do static routes for now. The next guy, he may want to add a routing protocol back once all this stuff is taken care of. We'll see. Then it lists out the cumulative fixes, um, including 8.2.8. So I'll get some intermediate bug fixes. Okay, great. Okay, and this is kind of what I was really wanting to see when I asked it about the recommended upgrade path. It says, since you're on 8.2.7.0 and you want to upgrade to 8.10.7.0, here's what I found. For versions prior to 8.5, an intermediate upgrade is recommended. That's key. You want to remember that because pre-8.5.0 versions are not validated. Though for versions prior to 8.10.0, an intermediate upgrade is similarly recommended. Okay, well, we're going to do an intermediate upgrade. So he says the more conservative one is to go from 8.2.7.0 to 8.5.x and then up to 8.10.7.0. And then he says option 2, you can do a direct upgrade, direct from the firmware level I'm at now, all the way up to 8.10.7.0. It says, but try it on a test switch first. I don't have a test switch. So it says, you should review the VOS release notes. Okay, well, I just asked it to do that for me. Every AI said that. So tells you to back up your configs. Ensure you download images using binary file transfer. Well, I used Extreme's web portal to download it, so I'm sure it took care of all that. It said this is the file you need. That's true. I already got that. It said So I asked it, I said, it says review the release notes for important upgrade considerations. So I said, can you review the release notes for important considerations? So well, it goes through and it's getting details, looking for stuff. And it again said that um, you should do an intermediate upgrade. It recommended 8.5 initially, which I think is interesting. Here, let me not get ahead of myself. Here are the critical upgrade considerations. Validated upgrade paths to 8.10 are from versions 8.5, 8.6, 8.7, 8.8, 8.9, 8.10. So you can do direct from those. Critical for me, any versions prior to 8.5, intermediate upgrade is recommended. Yeah, okay, we've already said that. Since you're on 8.2.7.0, it went back again. That's what I thought was interesting. Initially, oh no, that's right. It said 8.5x. So it didn't really specify which one, it just said 8.5x. What did it say up here? Yeah, 8.5x. It's the more conservative. But since I pushed it for more information, it gave me a little more information. This is Claude saying, I recommend using VOS 8540 as your intermediate step, as it's a stable maintenance release. Okay, that's important because that's exactly what Extreme Networks told me. So I found that kind of impressive. Um, their upgrade path is what they recommended to me, for the Global Technical Assistance Center, is go from 8.2.7.0 to 8.5.4.0 and then to 8.10.7.0. And I found it really interesting that Claude's personal recommendation was to go to 8.5.4.0. And then it gives me some more, important information, things that I should read up on. We don't perpetual PoE features. Well, we don't really use that. So it's telling me I'm already good for some management interface migration that occurred. I remember that when they first installed these switches. That's one of the first things they did. I'm glad they did it because I wasn't sure why this was needed or what they actually did. So Claude reassures me that this should already be done, and yeah, good, it is. So then it gives me Claude can tell I need some hand holding here, so it's giving me the exact upgrade steps. Get this stuff on the switch, and then here do software add, software activate, software commit. Um, Pre-upgrade checklist, save your config. I've done that. Make sure your downloaded images are correct and not corrupted. Review the config. Man, we can't do that. Then it's given me the legal disclaimers from Claude, uh, whoever his makers are, saying, if you're going to do an invalid upgrade path, that be careful. And yeah, do the software commit command within 10 minutes after the switch comes up, or it will automatically roll back to the previous firmware, which I'm not sure it does anymore. It might still do that. We're not going to find out. Regular cleanup of unneeded files on USB drives. Well, we had a lot of unneeded files on the switches themselves, and once I get rid of that stuff, switch performance actually got quite a bit better. So a lot of that stuff was left over from the initial install. Extreme didn't go back and do any housekeeping. They just, oh, it's done, let's move on. So I went back and did all that, and actually helped the performance of the switch. So that was pretty cool. So then I asked it if it can find any problems of any reports related to an upgrade path from version 8.2.7 to 8.5.4 to 8.10.7. So, okay, he's running out and he's looking for that. So he's telling me, well, it's good news so far. Let me keep looking. I'm gonna keep looking. And he basically found out he didn't find any specific reports or any of problems or failures with that particular upgrade path. He is correct. That is actually reassuring. Um, so he just kind of summarizes some of the important things that my management IP has already been updated. Version 8.10.6 has critical issues. We're not using it. We're going right straight to 8.10.7. 8.54 is very stable, so that's good. And then he's telling me that Extreme only supports the latest versions. Well, that's not really true. They prefer we use the latest releases, but if we're on an older release, they'll support that. It's not a problem. Um, so he's telling me my plan is sound, saying I might want to move to 8.10.9. Um, it was recently released. Well, that's exactly why I'm not going to go to that. If it was recently released, then we'll wait. So we're not going to do that. Test on one switch first. Can't do that. I don't have a switch to test with. And avoid 8.10.6. Yeah, that was never in the plan. So that's pretty good. So that was Claude. Spent a long time on that. Didn't mean to spend so long on it. Let's go over to ChatGPT. Ask the same question with the same grammatical error. And ChatGPT uh, gives me a little update on what 8.10.7 is and what 8.10 in general is. Short summary. One thing I like about ChatGPT is how it formats everything. Everything's kind of in a too long didn't read version. It just kind of, and it may be because I've used it so much, it's learned how I like to interact. But it's telling me what the notable fixes are um, from the release notes. I like this is kind of a bullet point list here. Uh, yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then it tells me how to install the software again. Tells me tells me to read the release notes, which I just asked it to summarize for me. Tells me the validated upgrade paths again. Tells me about the management interface migration. Check the checksum, test on a switch first. So that's largely the same recommendations. So then it says, okay, upgrade first from 8.2.7 to 8.5.x. It's kind of leaving the X up to me. Saying you can do a very cautious upgrade, which Claude didn't offer. So you can go to 8.2 to 8.5 to 8.6 to 8.8 and then to 8.10. And okay, it says after you run an intermediate release and you can jump straight to 8.10. Well, yeah, I know. It's basically telling me how to do it, what to do, and post upgrade things I should check. That's actually pretty good. Tell me to things I should make sure VRRP is working, any of my SMLT connections, BGP neighbors. That's something I should add to my post thing checklist. I haven't really done that. It's basically just going to check um, intermapper and see what everything looked like, see if I could see all the switches. But that's really good. I'm going to add this to my notes real quick. That there. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to make another note real quick. 12, 3, 4, 4, 2025. post upgrade checks. Let's spell that right. And I'll paste that all in there. And I'm going to use, okay. And it kind of gives me like a quick checklist. That's kind of handy. I don't really need that, but that was pretty good. Um, this is actually a really good suggestion that Claude didn't have was doing this upgrade. You should really have serial on be on the serial console when you do it, at least for the first switch, and have that all set up and ready to go. Do it from the serial console the first time you do it, and then when I go to do the second switch, I'll move the console cable over, but I'll go ahead and come back over here and do it more or less remotely from my desktop terminal, and see if everything works out. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, I can always run in there and check the serial console. Here's some useful links. Then he's offering to get the file names. So I kind of keyed off of, Claude did a recommendation of an intermediate firmware version. So I wanted to give this guy the chance to do it too. He said 852, or Claude said 854. I don't think that's, okay, why 852? Saying, well, basically it sounds like you've got to, it says basically you have to pick something. So 852 is like the very first kind of stable 8.5 release. Is 852. So basically it picked the first 8.5 release it could find was 852. Said, or you could go to 8612. So what I found interesting about this is not what Extreme said. Extreme said specifically, I want you to use 8.5.4. And that's what Claude's preference was too, where ChatGPT is still just going with the quickest and the quickest answer. It says after you stable, proceed and download the other one and do the same checks. So okay, largely the same. There's a little bit of extra info, some extra steps, and some extra things to think about, like the where is it? The post upgrade checks. I thought that was really good. Okay, and then Google Gemini. Same question. So here it summarizes the release notes. It's primarily focused on fixes. Doesn't give me a whole lot of information. It says it's primarily focused on fixes. Okay. Strongly recommends reviewing the release notes, which I just asked it to summarize. Key information. There we go. So it's giving me a little bit more. Enhancements to Fabric, DVR, and VXLAN gateway. Didn't say that in the other summaries. Updates to maximum scaling limits. Okay. So it gave me some other different info when it summarized the release notes that the others didn't. The others said they were primarily, bug fixes, primarily a maintenance release. But I'm seeing some enhancements here. Okay, so suggested path. Based on documentation, a direct upgrade is a commonly validated path. Well, Extreme didn't say that, and neither did Claude. and neither did ChatGPT. They both recommended an intermediate upgrade. So Google Gemini says, "Hey, dude, just go for it." Mm. If I was dumb and only ever checked Gemini for advice, I probably would. But I'm pretty conservative when it comes to this stuff because I'm the only guy here. I have no team member to bounce ideas off of. So I would just be calling extreme GTAC if this didn't work out right. Then it tells me to read the release notes like they all do. Everyone told me that. Really, once it told me this, I kind of discounted anything else that Gemini was going to tell me. So I asked it, okay, what's a safe approach? Read the release notes. Okay. Can you summarize them for me? Here we go again. Show software, show version, show logging log. That's a lot of stuff. Show alarm. Yeah. Back up the configuration. Yeah, gonna do that. Configuration's gonna be saved. Download the firmware. Transfer the firmware file. Here, it actually gave me a little bit more detail here about getting the firmware file over to the switch. And verify the new software release, which is just telling me show software, where ChatGPT said, hey, you might want to also check SMLT, BGP neighbors, any VRRP, SNMP, and all that stuff. This just said show software. So, or is it just making sure? Actually, it's making sure I just got it on the switch. Okay. Hang on. Here we go. Auto commit. View the current shaft. Okay, here we go. It's showing me, and it's actually giving me a little bit more um, showing ISIS adjacencies. This is fabric stuff, and showing the routes and showing the VLANs. Okay, well, so that's a little more. Um, that's actually a little that's helpful because it's giving me actual commands to run rather than just check this, check that. So if I ask ChatGPT, hey, what are the commands to do all that? I'm sure it would give them to me, but maybe actually. Software commit is the final step. So basically it said, do you want anything else? And I said, no, thank you. Because it never did give me, I mean, when I asked it specifically, what's the safe way to do it, it still said, just go for it. So this is not the safe way to do it. The safe way to do it is intermediate upgrade. So there you have it. Three AIs, two AIs gave similar answers. One was basically just pull the ripcord. Yeah, that's okay. So I'm kind of partial to how Claude answered it and how it went about, you know, actually suggesting something, and the suggestion was actually right. Um, so that was kind of cool. So sorry if I see a little cloudy. I got called by the help desk at 2 a.m. this morning. It is now 6:30, and I am just beat already. We had a virtual machine. Our intranet page ran out of memory and was throwing errors, and I'm not a VMware guy, so I didn't know if you could just add memory on the fly or not. Apparently you can, because that's what I did. 32 gigabyte was not enough, so I bumped it up to 128 gig and just refreshed the intranet page, and there it was. I'm assuming you know what an intranet page is. If you don't, because you're just new to this, as we all were at one time, so nobody's going to laugh at you because you don't know. And if they do, I will make fun of them. The intranet page is what a lot of companies do. They'll set up a web server internally and put all the company information there. So a lot of times when you first open up your web browser, that's where you'll land, is on the company intranet page, because it's got all the important links that they want you to keep at the top of your brain, you know, news and announcements, links into get into whatever the various systems are, that sort of thing. So that's what an intranet page is. And that's what wasn't working this morning. And everybody knew because that's the first page that comes up when they open up their web browser. So, like I said, increasing the memory. Once I figured out how to do that, and it wasn't that hard. It's just 2 a.m. and I'm not a server guy, and I'm definitely not a VMware guy. Figuring out how to increase the software or increase the memory in their software. It was a little bit of a challenge, but it wasn't that bad. So there you go, guys. That's all I got for this week. I have rambled on long enough. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. And I haven't answered last week's comments yet. Bad me. So I'm going to get right on that right after this video. So as always, guys, God bless, and we'll see you next week.